Good morning, everybody, and welcome. So before we get going, just wanted to share with you the type of projects that we work in the energy business. So the first picture here shows an offshore platform, produces oil and gas. It's in Newfoundland, designed to withstand impact with an iceberg, a multi-billion-dollar project. Those are floating production, storage, and offloading system. Again, as you can see here, this ship is really the size of a Titanic, and where you see the red line is where when the oil is produced, is stored until it's offloaded onto some other. But this is a stationary in the ocean, a tanker that basically produces oil and gas. About oil sands projects in Canada. This is the size of the truck. It's amazing. It weighs 400 tons empty, which is, by the way, the weight of 200 full-size cars. And it carries 400-ton load, so total 800 tons you're talking about. Each tire on this truck is 12-foot diameter. The man standing there is about half the size of the tire. Each tire, by the way, costs about $500,000 each, and every 6 months or so you got to replace them with the wear and tear. It really shows the how it is scooped. You got about 100 tons per scoop with this shovel. It dumps it into a truck, 4 scoops, and it fills up the truck. And every few hours, one of these trucks puts this material into a crusher, and then, of course, you are extracting oil out of that. And this is, by the way, in a very harsh climate up in northern Canada, where it gets to be 40 below zero in winter and over 100 degrees in summer. Then there's the liquefied natural gas tanker. This is a tanker that basically the gas is liquefied to minus 260 degrees to reduce the volume for shipment, and each tanker can cost over $100 million a pop, and of course there's several of those being built or are already operating. The slide here talks about a refinery and a petrochemical complex. This is something we all can probably relate to, where we produce, of course, gasoline, diesel fuel, jet fuel, kerosene, all kinds of products, and petrochemical products such as your polyester clothes that you wear and all kinds of petrochemical rubber, plastics, thousands of products. So with that, let's get into the topic for today, managing risk for mega global energy projects. So the agenda, I'm going to cover a few topics here. The first one, what's the business case for managing risk and the impact on the bottom line of the company? With that kind of a business case, let's talk about a project development and execution process, which provides effective communication between decision makers, multifunctional project teams, and stakeholders. The good process alone is not good enough. We're going to have in item 3 talk about some of the value improving and best practices that optimize cost, schedule, and operability of projects. And finally, number 4, everything really comes back to money. So we'll talk about total cost management, where we talk about planning, scheduling, estimating, monitoring, and reporting. I'll do that in item 5 and then open up for some Q&A at the end. So what's the business managing risk? The Chevron, when I retired from Chevron in 2013, we were spending about $40 billion on new capital projects worldwide. So improved capital stewardship was very critical to the company. The energy business is very capital intensive. So the first thing we try to do is better projects. Long projects, less expensively is not much of a help. When you do that, you get lower cost, faster schedule. As a result, you can do more projects for that basket full of money. All that goes into improved return on capital employed, which gets into higher earnings growth for the company, higher market confidence on Wall Street, higher price to earnings ratio, and improved total shareholder return. The next management's impact on the bottom line of the company. So if you build good projects, you increase revenues, you have a higher operating factor, you are running more time, you get higher revenue, You minimize expenses. So we are really looking for life cycle costs. So minimize operating and maintenance costs. And you'll use less capital to achieve that objective. And all those three things go into calculating return on capital employed, which is in the energy business very critical. The next, project management leads to pace setter performance. And there's a company in Virginia which does benchmarking. As we speak today, probably more than 10,000 projects in the database. And the name of the company is Independent Project Analysis. And what they showed is the difference between the pace setter company and the worst or not so performing company. The gap is 30% improvements in cost and almost 30% also in schedule. So you can imagine what this could have an impact on a capital-intensive company like Chevron, which has a $40 billion a year capital budget. So even if you can get even 5 or 10% of this kind of savings, that would be huge. That business objective, we have a structured project development and execution process. And this is a process that facilitates optimal use of resources, whether it be dollars, people, or technology, over the life of an asset or a project to maximize value. The desired outcome of this process are two. First of all, making good decisions, and then executing them with excellence. So we want to do both. The next slide really talks about making a high quality, executing with excellence, and we want to be on the top right-hand quadrant on a consistent basis. Good projects and good execution. So project development and execution process. Phase 1, identify and assess a business opportunity. Phase 2, we look at alternatives. And by the way, doing nothing is also an option. Building a new project is an option. Expansion, divestiture. So anything goes in phase 2. And by the end of phase 2 diamond, we try to select a preferred alternative. Then we develop the preferred alternative for full funding by the end of phase 3, that final investment decision diamond. And then really the phase 4 is execute, do detailed engineering, procurement, construction with minimal changes, and have an operable asset by the end of phase 4. And in phase 5, we do operate and evaluate. Take lessons learned and apply those to the next project. So this is value creation versus the 5-phase process. And I'm sure those of us who have done a home improvement project know the outcome when we plan versus didn't plan. So as you can see here, the phase 2 is really critical. This is where value is created. And then really in phase 4, you can maintain value. You might add a little bit, but really the major value creation happens in phase 2. And we really want to have a good definition and good execution and get to the curve A. If you select a bad alternative in phase 2, even if you execute it with excellence, you get a curve C. That's the best you can do. So really the goal is take the time and plan phases 1, 2, and 3, and then execute per the plan in phase 4. There is a culture which says, well, all that planning takes time. Yes, but then you do it right the first time. Know the being members of PMI and all the value of planning. Influence versus expenditure talks about you get tremendous influence at the beginning of the project by spending a little bit of money.